For decades, Israel and Iran waged a shadow war. Covert operations, cyber attacks, and proxy battles simmered beneath the surface. This uneasy balance kept the region unstable, with the constant risk that a single misstep could ignite a larger conflict. In 2025, that risk became reality. The hidden struggle erupted into open warfare, shocking the world. What began as a war of spies turned into a war of missiles and jets, forever altering the Middle East's landscape. Years of mistrust, Iran's advancing military programs, and Israel's security fears set the stage for this dramatic escalation. Experts had long warned that the status quo couldn't last. The tremors of small attacks signaled a coming earthquake. By mid-2025, the long-feared direct confrontation arrived, changing the region's political dynamics overnight. This video will break down the key events of the 2025 conflict, Israel's motivations, the focus on Iran's IRGC, and the global fallout. We'll also examine Iran's response and the war's impact on the world economy and diplomacy. Understanding this conflict is crucial to grasping the Middle East's current state as of June 14, 2025. Israel's main justification for attacking Iran was the threat posed by Iran's nuclear program. Israeli leaders argued that a nuclear-armed Iran would threaten Israel's very existence, especially given Tehran's hostile rhetoric. As Iran's uranium enrichment advanced, Israel's sense of urgency grew. Diplomacy and sanctions, they claimed, had failed. Israel pointed to Iran's advanced centrifuges and missile arsenal as proof of military intentions, insisting a preemptive strike was the only way to prevent disaster. The operation targeted not just nuclear sites but also missile bases capable of striking Israeli cities. Brigadier General F.E. Defrin stated the goal was to significantly weaken Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities. Israel framed Operation Rising Lion as a defensive, last-resort measure to ensure survival, not an attempt to start a full-scale war. The world was told Israel's targets were military, not civilian. The conflict exploded in June 2025 as Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a massive, coordinated assault deep inside Iran. This was no limited raid. Waves of fighter jets and missiles struck Iran's most sensitive military sites. Key nuclear facilities at Natanz and Isfahan were hit, aiming to cripple Iran's nuclear ambitions. Simultaneously, Israeli forces targeted missile bases and command centers, seeking to neutralize Iran's ability to retaliate. The operation showcased Israel's advanced military reach and years of meticulous planning. U.S. officials confirmed they were informed beforehand but insisted American forces did not participate. The aftermath was chaotic. Explosions rocked Iran, and the world realized the shadow war was over. Israel's defense minister declared the strikes a necessary act of self-defense. The message: Israel would no longer tolerate a hostile regime with nuclear ambitions on its doorstep. The region braced for a new, more dangerous phase. The era of covert conflict had ended. A pivotal part of Israel's strategy was targeting Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. In the first wave, Israeli strikes reportedly killed IRGC Commander-in-Chief Hossein Salami and most senior commanders. A decapitation strike aimed at Iran's military leadership. The IRGC isn't just a military force. It controls much of Iran's economy, foreign policy, and proxy networks like Hezbollah. By eliminating its leaders, Israel hoped to disrupt Iran's ability to coordinate retaliation and paralyze its proxy forces. The attack sent a powerful message. Israel could strike at the heart of Iran's power structure. This was both a tactical and psychological blow, designed to deter further aggression. Israel gambled that a leaderless IRGC would be less effective, buying time in the conflict's critical early hours. The strike signaled a new level of risk and resolve from Israel. The rules of engagement had changed. Iran's response was immediate and fierce, launching the Hard Retaliation. Within hours, hundreds of Iranian missiles and drones targeted Israeli cities and military bases. Air raid sirens blared as civilians rushed to shelters. Israel's Iron Dome and David Sling intercepted many threats, but some missiles got through. The attacks caused casualties and damage. At least one Israeli civilian was killed and several injured. Iran's barrage proved its missile arsenal remained a real threat, even after losing top commanders. Israel's defense minister warned Iran's supreme leader of devastating consequences if attacks on civilians continued. The U.S. played a crucial defensive role. with Navy destroyers and interceptor systems helping shield Israel. American officials stressed their involvement was defensive only, but their support was vital. The US-Israel alliance was on full display, raising the risk of wider involvement. The conflict had escalated beyond the two main players. The world watched anxiously. The Israel-Iran war sent shockwaves across the Middle East and the globe. Diplomacy collapsed, nuclear talks were cancelled, and hopes for a peaceful solution vanished overnight. Israel's strike on the South Pars gas field triggered a massive fire, disrupting global energy supplies. Oil prices spiked by 9% as markets panicked. Iran threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, risking a global economic crisis. The US supported Israel's right to self-defense but sought to avoid a wider war. President Trump warned Iran of harsher consequences but hinted at a diplomatic off-ramp if Iran returned to talks. Regional powers feared the violence would spill over, with Iran's proxy forces on high alert in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. The dream of regional stability was replaced by fear of a catastrophic, multi-country war. The conflict's ripple effects threatened millions and drew in global powers. The Middle East's future had never looked more uncertain. The world was on edge. The 2025 Israel-Iran conflict marked the climax of years of tension and fear. Israel's Operation Rising Lion aimed to preempt Iran's nuclear ambitions and missile threat, abandoning shadow warfare for open confrontation. The decapitation strike on the IRGC was meant to cripple Iran's response and disrupt its proxy network. Iran's furious retaliation proved it remained a dangerous adversary, even after heavy losses. The war derailed diplomacy, rocked global markets, and pushed the region to the brink of wider conflict. US involvement underscored the risk of global escalation. The Middle East now faces a new, unstable reality. Old rules no longer apply, and the risk of further escalation remains high. The future depends on whether leaders can step back from the brink, or if the region will plunge into even greater chaos.